Are you ready to start living a more confident, successful, and safe life, regardless of what's going on in the world or what has happened in your past? Then you're at the right place at the right time. The FemVincible Podcast, where we bring you content and guests to help you focus on moving forward as the powerful you that you were truly meant to be. So welcome to FemVincible. Hey everybody, welcome to Saturday morning's FemVincible Podcast. I'm really glad that you're here, and I'm really excited that my friend Cindy Howard is here, who is a breathwork facilitator, among other things. And it's going to be really cool because I don't know if you've ever heard of breathwork before. When I heard it, I started hearing it from people, on webinars that I would watch or on YouTube videos. And I'm hearing it and I'm like, breathwork, what the heck? You're telling me that somebody's going to talk to me? Okay, breathe in, now out. Okay, do that again. And I'm like, really? That's a thing, that people do? And I really had no idea, but I kept hearing people talk about how incredible their breathwork experience was, or that they had this incredible opening of themselves up with breathwork, or this breakthrough. And it just really confused me. And I'm like, what the heck is it? And so luckily, Cindy here is local to me. And so Penny and I connected with her, and we just love her to death. And so she invited us to a breathwork experience, and we went. I didn't know what to expect, but I'll tell you what happened in a little bit. Hey, Cindy, I'm so happy that you're here. Of course, if I forget to tell you, Cindy.
No, you have to tell them. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was. You remind me later to tell this story.
Okay.
Thanks for being here. I appreciate you
for having me here. I'm so excited.
So how in the world did you find out about breathwork and get into it?
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to back up way far back to when I was a child, right? My family was dysfunctional, as most are, right? Yeah, I have always had a gift for holding space. I was holding space for my mother in the womb. I was the person in grade school who everybody came to with their troubles, and I wanted to find a way to help people, growing up. What do you want to be when you grow up, kind of thing, right? And I pursued the avenues that were available at the time, and I could not get through the math. I don't have a math brain. I have an English brain, right? It seems like it's kind of one or the other for a lot of people. So I contented myself to just shining my light in my own little sphere, living my life. And I was in and out of therapy for 20 years. I, had a lot of adventures in my life, but in 2018, I had several tragedies in a row. Severe heartbreak, and I felt broken, absolutely broken. My body was in severe pain all the time. And I started looking outside of my known experienced spheres of healing. I decided to say yes to anything that came my way. And I went to a sound bath or 3. I went to a salt cave. I did Reiki. I went to physical therapy. And then I went to a breathwork workshop.
So this is all looking for something to help with the pain and the challenges that you were dealing with.
Yeah. Looking for healing for myself.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so that one session felt like 20 years of therapy in an hour. Really? And I walked out of there. Honestly, I was high for 2 days afterwards. I walked out of there I walked out of there high from breathwork. No, yeah, no lie. Yeah. Well, you got high too, Cranford. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
From breathwork, that's how I got high.
Yeah. And really, when it took me
we
a
weren't
while.
adding anything extra to it. It's amazing. Anyway, sorry, I'll stop interrupting. Go ahead.
Well, it took me a while to recognize that I was high because I'd been clean and sober for 10 years at that time. I didn't realize, but I knew that I felt fantastic. And I was like, I don't know what that was. I don't care. I want more. And so every opportunity I had to go and get more, I did. And then I heard about an apprenticeship program. And my heart just lit up. And I've had to do a lot of growing, a lot of getting over, inferiority and all of that, right? To feel worthy of even participating in a program like that. But my soul knew this is it. This is it. This is how I help people.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I want to back up just for a minute because I have a question I meant to slide in there and I didn't. So when you were experiencing that and, just getting a natural high from it, and you're saying like it was a ton of therapy in one day or one session. So I know you were talking about you're in a place of emotional pain and physical pain. So at that time, when you were just trying out breath work, was it helping you with the emotional, psychological, or the physical, or both?
Both. Breathwork heals on all levels.
Yeah. So you got that experience with relief of emotional and physical pain all in your first experience.
Yeah. Not complete healing, right? But absolute relief. I felt better than I had in decades.
Yeah. Hey, when you're hurting a lot, a little bit of relief is pretty darn good.
Yeah.
I think most of us would take that. So awesome. Okay. So so then you were in a place where you're going, oh my gosh, this is the way I can help. This makes sense to me. And you were just amazed and elated with what you were learning.
Yeah. Okay. And it's just so grateful that I found the people that I found the opportunity that I found. My trainers are absolute integrous, heart-led people. So, and I can't say enough about them, but maybe not on this platform. But grateful to have finally found my calling, my path. Now, that does not mean that I was able to seamlessly just walk into that and own that. I had a ton of work to do on myself, to allow for that growth and expansion. Yeah. But I was in a situation, I had my friend group, I had my husband, I had people to support me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I know before we went live, maybe it was after, I don't know. We talked a lot this morning.
After the recording, but before we went live.
Right. You were talking about how you really had some opening happen that helped you. And if I'm jumping ahead of where you want to be, just, tell me. But I remember you saying that, and it was so cool that even though you are like a natural, gifted healer and kind of a guide and somebody can hold space for others, that it was a little bit challenging for you at first because you were would you say it was because you were so open, or maybe you didn't know how to zoom in your abilities, that when you learned breath work, that started coming together for you?
It was absolutely a confidence thing. Absolutely a confidence thing. I've been completely insecure, well, I was just going to say my whole life, but it's not true anymore. Not to say that I'm confident now, but I am so much more centered and grounded. I've got, meditation, right? Breathwork can be a form of meditation. Anything that brings you to presence is going to heal you, right? It's going to calm your mind. My mind does all this stuff and it doesn't make any sense because I always have opposing opinions. And I could ruminate for years. I've had things happen that hurt me a lot that I ruminated on for decades, really. And so breathwork has given me a tool to sort of release that. I don't have to know anymore. I don't have to have it all figured out. I don't have to be perfect in order to just be as good as everybody else. Right. And so, now I'm playing with the idea of, oh my gosh, what would I do? What would I dream? What would I dare if I knew I couldn't mess it up? Right. If it's all just learning and you can't fail, what would you dream? What would you try? Play with it, have fun with it. That's what we're supposed to do. Like, I feel like our souls, right, before we come to this life, our souls kind of have a plan. I want to experience this, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. And they signed us up for all this awesome stuff that seems awesome to them, because they're not human, right? We get here to our little human selves, and we have so much strife and struggle and pain, and we put ourselves through that a lot of the time, right? And our souls they're like on the roller coaster, woo, having a good time. And we're like, let me off.
I absolutely know that roller coaster feeling.
Yeah.
So it's pretty neat, just the expansive capabilities of what you can get from breath work. So, now, you're telling me about how it has helped you in this life in kind of a spiritual way, in an energetic way. And, when I had there was another experience I had with breathwork, which it's also very cool, but it's not the kind that I did with you. And if you don't mind me taking a minute to share, I'll tell you what it was.
No, all breath work is beautiful. I like to say there are as many different ways to do breath work as there are flavors of ice cream, and you really should sample them all.
Yeah. As opposed to me, who believed it was just out and then back in again. I'm like, but there was a program that a veterans group did, and it was a breath work system that was to help with PTSD. And it was having amazing results with the people that went through. They were having calmer days, less anger, less anxiety, less triggering events, and I'm going, well, that's not woo-woo stuff. That's something that's going on that's making our body and our mind work better and release some scary stuff. So I did that program, and it is calming, but it was so different than what we did with you. I never expected the experience I had when, you facilitated our breath work. So
yeah, and maybe that's your segue to explain. Tell about your experience.
Thanks for helping me, guiding me along on this, because, I could just wander off in thought for a little bit. We don't want that, because that'll happen. Now, okay, let me share the experience I had. So Penny's my wife, we went and did a breath work experience with Cindy, and it was a private experience, wasn't it? It was supposed to be a group, but it was just us. Woohoo! Show up, And so it's different ways of breathing, different speeds of breathing, and all manner of things, and there's some other stuff that I still don't understand. It's energetic work that like Cindy did, which it was amazing. It was all very comfortable, it wasn't scary. It wasn't bizarre. It wasn't weird. It was really an amazing experience. But as I went into, the breathing exercises she was giving me, and then relaxed, because did we start sitting? No, we started laying down, didn't we? Yeah. And after doing the breath work that she was having me do, and I can't remember if it was when it started, but I really started having basically I don't know if I can call it an out of body experience, but
that's what I would call it.
Yeah, I sure saw a different place, and it was very, very interesting, because it was kind of like what you experience on if you watch a movie where somebody's doing a psychedelic experience to try to speak to their ancestors or whatever, and it works, that's kind of like what it was for me. And I just saw different places and people that were there that were aware of me. And it was strange and incredible because I came away from it with the feeling that there's so much more than just here, which kind of made it okay to be here again. I mean, Cindy, like you were saying, we worry about screwing everything up. And it's like, is this all there is? I'm going to screw it up and then I'm a total loser or broken or no good. But in that experience, what I felt was that there's so much more, and that it's okay for me to go through my life trying things, falling down, failing, getting back up, just experiencing different things. So it really, it was amazing. I did not expect that whatsoever. And I was so happy that I could remember it when we were done, because there's no drugs involved. This is you and your breathing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was amazing. And I don't even remember what Penny's experience was, but I remember it was incredible. But yeah, and so I'm so thankful to you, Cindy, for carrying me through that, because I had no idea. It opened a new belief up for me, and that you facilitated that for us, and kind of, it's like she's holding our hand through the experience, energetically, and keeping us safe, giving us a very safe feeling of where we are, that we're allowed to be vulnerable enough to let our mind open up and our energy open up. It's really incredible. It's incredible. So
yes, that is the beauty of breath work. Yeah, there are tons of different ways to do it. There are tons of breathing practices, and with the PTSD, and I love that. And that has helped for me too, with depression, with anxiety. Anytime that you focus on your breathing, anytime that you can make your exhale longer than your inhale, you are going to calm your nervous system. Right? So that knowledge alone is super important. But then there's also the ability to release DMT in the brain. And that is the chemical that gets released when you do those psychedelic journeys. You can do that just from breathwork. It doesn't happen every time, right? And some people never get there, right? It's not a guarantee, and we don't do it for that, but it is possible to access.
When you're doing breath work, what you need is what shows up. And
yes.
If that happens to be laying on the floor in a dark room, relaxing for the whole time, then it's what your body needed, right? It's not that you didn't do it right.
Yes.
Is that right?
Absolutely. Yes. I've had plenty of experiences that were transcendental, and others where I just kind of laid there on the floor like, yeah, nothing's happening. You know what I mean? I just know that I am healing on some level. Something is happening inside me. I decided a long time ago, it's none of my business, right? Because I don't need to get in the way. I just need to trust that what is for me comes to me, and it does.
Right.
And as long as I am willing to do the work and be open, I get what I need. Yeah.
It's amazing. And I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm generally kind of a skeptic. It's like, I know that there's really cool stuff. So I'm like, you're going to have to prove it to me. I'm kind of like Fox Mulder, right? I want to believe, but I need you to show me something. So even going into the experience with you, I'm like, all right, let's see what you got. And it was exactly perfect. There couldn't have been something better for me, so if you guys, ladies, gentlemen, everybody, if you're skeptical like that, like really blow in, breathe out, blow in, you can't blow in, breathe in. Boy, I do need a breathwork facilitator. I can't remember what the process for breathing is, but if you're looking at that going, how the heck is that supposed to work? Go do it. Find somebody that you feel good with, that Cindy, what are some things that people should look for if they're looking for a breathwork facilitator? I mean, I'd tell everybody to go to you, but that's a whole lot of people coming over to your place, right? So
Yeah, I don't know, because we're all different. We all resonate with different people differently. I would go with someone that is acting in integrity.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people out there who've actually done harm to people through breath work,
Yeah.
which
But
breaks
they
my
also
heart.
do that as doctors, and they also do that as lawyers and police, and yeah, there's always some of those out there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
was lucky because, I feel a wonderful connection with you. It's just easy for me to be open and connected to you. So it put me in a
Well,
safe.
and I mean, I'm not doing anything, right? It's not really about the facilitator. It's
Mhm.
about you and your journey, your process, your surrendering to your breath.
Mhm.
And some people have a really hard time letting go. A lot of us guard, and we're afraid of our feelings, and we, don't feel safe in a lot of our lives. And so, I mean, starting small, just focus on your breath for 10 minutes a day. And that
I mean,
sounds like a lot. You don't have to do it all in one block. You can focus for 1 minute 10 times a day. But
yeah.
10 minutes a day of focusing on your breath will change your life. Just that right there. And the first thing I teach anybody is, after making the exhale longer than the inhale, right, is box breathing. Just a simple box, right? Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, repeat. Repeat that box, set a timer, right? And then you can work up to 5 and 6 seconds and 10, whatever, you can work up from there, but start with the 4s. Take a few minutes to just connect to your breath. Connecting to your breath is the fastest, most effective way to get you into your body.
Mhm.
Out of the mind, out of the present, out of the future, out of the past, out of the ruminations, out of the worries, into your body and into the present moment. It's the present moment. That's all we have. Really, that's all we have. And it's the most important thing we have. And we miss it most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're thinking about something we should have done back in 73, or what are we going to do next week when I'm supposed to be at whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And so just coming to presence, and, the more present you can be, everything else heals just as a side effect of that.
yeah,
And it sounds ridiculous, but it's absolutely true.
it makes sense. And I'm going to go back to something real quick, but I want to come back to what you're saying. So when you're talking to somebody about breath work, about being a facilitator for you, just see how you feel with them.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
open with them. Do you feel like, see
Yep.
what you feel with them? Because I mean, it can be a vulnerable space. It's really, I don't know if this is the right word, but it's really rather a kind of intimate space that you're in, and so make sure you feel good with who it is that you're talking to. But yeah, back to what you're saying about the square breathing and all, there are other benefits. And I actually teach a breathing technique in one of my courses. Did you know that? Did I tell you?
Did I know that? Not off the top of
Know
my
that?
head, I didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, because I mean, you're right. That long exhale that's longer than the inhale, when you're doing that, it tells your body, it activates your parasympathetic nervous system. You have your sympathetic and your parasympathetic. Your sympathetic, which seems weird that they're named this way, is when
Right.
you're anxious and in fear and you're
Yeah.
tight, But when you're doing that, when you're breathing in the slow, and the way that I teach people to do it, because I don't have a whole lot of methods, I have the one to calm yourself to stay safe, is like breathe in for 3 or 4, blow out for 6 to 7. So it's breathe in, hold it for a couple of seconds, and breathe out longer. As long as that other one's longer, what's happening is it tells your body, I'm safe. It's okay.
Yep.
And
And then you can think again, you can be aware again of your surroundings. You can react, you can respond instead of reacting to stimulus.
yeah.
Yes.
And it's
Just
weird
taking
why
that
that
pause.
Yeah, it's weird why that is, but there's actually a brain system that's activated. You know, okay, here's a little bit of brain science for any nerds that like this. The front of our brain is where we make decisions. It's where we decide, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to buy that. I'm not going to date him, whatever. That's where we think consciously and make decisions, our executive function. When you're in a good mood, when you're doing that breathing, the energy of your brain is up here in the front where it's supposed to be, where you can make decisions. When you're stressed, and especially in a place of fear, you actually lose that capability, because that same energy that allows you to do that moves back to the part of your brain that controls fight, flight, freeze, fawn.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you can't make good decisions.
Yeah.
You can't be clear on what's going on. You can't see the escape routes. You can't see the resources. You can't see the weaknesses in that person. And we turn it around to what Cindy's doing, and you can now do that in your everyday life. So like she's saying, you don't have to lay down and do it for 20 minutes. 1 minute can calm you while you're before you go on stage, before you go into that boardroom meeting, before you go on your podcast, before you get in front of the camera, whatever it is.
Yep.
Does the very same thing.
And it's a cumulative effect. Over time, it becomes easier. You groove a new neural pathway. Mm-hmm. Over time, it becomes easier to just take that moment and pause and reflect. I like to tell a story about, that cartoon where the mouse, Blondie is standing up on the chair, eat a mouse in the kitchen, right? I always thought that was so demeaning to women and ridiculous. And then I had a mouse in my kitchen, and I completely lost my ever-loving mind. I had not a thought in my head. All I could do was scream and hop up and down on I lost my mind. And it didn't even occur to me that I could have hopped up on the counter. I mean, there were all kinds of things I could have done in that moment. All I could do was panic. Yeah. And I'm looking back at it, I was ashamed, because I didn't know I was that person.
All right.
Right. Now I just had a conflict with somebody just a week or two ago. And there was a time when I would have gone straight down the rabbit hole of emotion and, taking it personally, judging myself, feeling like I'm not good enough, going down into shame and despair and depression. And I didn't. I felt some tingles in my body. It was like part of me was kind of up here, kind of watching everything, right? Going, oh, this is not about me. This is about them. This is just energy moving. I don't have to panic about this. I didn't have any emotion, which I am an emotional being. Yeah. And because the emotion wasn't needed, it wasn't about me. It wasn't mine. I was able to separate. And that is huge. Like, this is a new development in Cindy's universe.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so it does. And this is just from, a couple of years now of practicing near daily breath work.
Yeah.
In some form or another.
Does that help then? I mean, because what I just heard you explain to me makes me think of being empathic, which turns out I am, and I didn't know, but I start picking up everybody's feelings. If everybody in the room's sad, my heart's breaking inside. If people around me are upset, I'm like, why am I upset? I had no idea that was going on. But so that breath work will help you to be able to separate, this is my energy, this is my emotion, that one's yours. I don't need to take that on. Is that right?
Yes, no, maybe not, right? The brain wants to make sense of everything. The ego, has good intentions, wants to keep us safe, and they're not always accurate, right? And so we are all empathic. Mm-hmm. We are all sensitive to other people's emotions. We may not know it. But yeah, being able to first ask, okay, is this mine? Secondly, what does it need? What does it need? It's like feelings are like toddlers. The more you ignore them, the louder they get. Mm-hmm. right? If you're going to have a meltdown in aisle 6 of the grocery store because you ignore your, you know what I mean? We can either ask, okay, I see you, fear. I see you. Come. What do you need?
Yeah.
Right? Do we need to just stay here in a blanket for a few minutes and breathe? Do we need a cup of hot cocoa? Right? You know, and it's avoiding our feelings. It doesn't matter if they're ours or not. If we are experiencing them, they need to be felt.
I guess in that,
it's about taking it personally or not.
And I guess a key thing there, again, that would go back to what you learned with your breath, is that if you're present with me right now, not what does this mean for later, not where did it come from, just me right now. What do I have going on? Which isn't conceited. It's not, well, it is self-centering, but it's not self-centered. It's something that's required.
Yeah.
Right. And that helps us to see those different things instead of being all wrapped up in them and getting lost.
Right. And a lot of us weren't taught emotional regulation as children. And we're learning it as adults or not. Some of us never learn it, you know, unfortunately. And we kind of bounce off other people all the time, all day long. I remember, because, you know, there was a lot of violence and trauma in my house when I was a child. I remember learning early on to come home and feel the room. I needed to know, do I need to hide? Do I need to start doing homework right away? Do I need to start cleaning right away? How can I keep myself safe? Right? And so we all have those feelers out all the time. It's just now I don't have to make up a story, right? I could see that this person's energy, this person's emotion was theirs. It didn't mean that I was a bad person. It didn't mean that I had done something wrong, which had been my pattern from childhood. You know, I was a fawn. I was a fawn child, and I carried that into a lot of adulthood. Right. And so, you know, you're talking about fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Yeah. The people pleasing, the trying to make everything better, that was me. And I don't need to do that anymore. I can just be who I am, stand in my truth with heart, with integrity, with gentleness. Right. And I'm navigating, right. We're all learning. I found recently I'm working on boundaries, and boundaries are hard. Right. But my feelings, my anger, you know, specifically tells me where my boundary needs to be. Okay. And then I draw my boundary, and I find in a couple of conversations with my husband lately, I've been, well, I'm not going to be able to. Oh, okay. I'm barking at him. This is not about him. I don't need to, you know, put this on him. This is because I'm uncomfortable because I need to draw a boundary. And so now I'm just saying that, oh, yep. Okay. I'm feeling uncomfortable here, but there's a boundary that needs to go up here, and I'm not trying to yell at you. You know, and just owning that. Give ourselves grace for being human, and give each other grace for being human.
Yeah. And all that can be enhanced by learning to be present.
Yes, because you don't have to take it personally. You don't have to tell yourselves all the stories.
Right.
Yeah.
Cindy, I so appreciate you being here and sharing your story of how, you know, breathwork came to you and why you do it. And my gosh, you've shared so many things that it can help with. You know, if I would have heard this in the beginning, well, I did in the beginning, back when I first heard about it, I'm like, what? But now I get it. What would you want, maybe 2 things that you want people that watch this to take away with them, and maybe put into their life, or, you know, try to experience, even if they don't get to go to, you know, a breathwork facilitator?
Okay. So the first one is just connect to your breath. Connect to your breath as often as possible. The goal is 10 minutes a day, right? Whether that's in, you know, 5 2-minute sessions or whatever, you know, pay attention to your breath. What's my breath doing right now? What's my body doing right now? Are my shoulders up here? Is my jaw clenched? Relax your body, slow your breath. Okay. And if you can do that, that's going to be, you're well on your way already. Second, feelings are friends. Feelings are friends, even the ones that we don't necessarily want to hang out with, right? Nobody wants to hang out with sadness or anger. They're messengers. We don't have to take them personally. What are they trying to tell us? What do they need?
When you're looking at those emotions that you have, would you say, when you're like, if you're tying that into the 2 minutes of breath work or the 1 minute of breath work, that it's good to do while you're in that? Or when you're looking and going, you know, I have a lot of fear going on for some reason, let me do a minute of breath work and then try to look inside?
I mean, whatever works for you. But for me, I found that, just getting in the habit of checking in with my body and my breath. Then I started when I was triggered.
Mm-hmm.
When I was triggered for whatever reason, going into breath first before anything else. Yeah. Before responding, before reacting.
Yeah.
Just breathe for a minute.
Especially from what we was talking about earlier, what we were talking about earlier is how it brings your brain's energy back up to the part where you can make a decision and recognize what's going on instead of responding, or reacting. You can now make a choice. What is this fear about? What am I going to do about it?
Yes. And that's one of the things I love about your teachings, Cranford, is reminding people that they have choices. Women in bad situations often don't feel like they do. And that kind of equates to the same thing, right? Yeah. And so just knowing that you have choices opens up new worlds.
Right. Oh yeah. Choice is powerful if you decide to take it on, as opposed to letting the world happen to you. Cindy, I so appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Everybody, I so appreciate you showing up. And what I'd love for you to do is hop into the comments, whether it's here, well, we're about to finish our live up, but go into the comments over on the in Facebook and on the YouTube channel that I have, and leave a comment. Let us know. I would love to hear, if you've experienced breath work and what it was like. And if you are like me and a skeptic, I'd love to hear that story, so I don't feel like I'm the only skeptic out here trying some new, bigger things. But put that in there and, share some of your stories. I would love to hear that. So thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Cindy. And I will see you all next Saturday. Take care. Bye-bye. This has been a production of LabCalf LLC and FemVincible.com.